Hi! I'm back. Sorry for the extended absence. I had planned on taking 1 to 2 weeks off. I took me and baby girl all the way back to Alaska to go hang out with grandparents and great-grandparents. The joys of flying with a 7-month-old are just unparalleled, let me tell ya. She was fine, actually. I was the baby. Thank God for kind people on airplanes because I was surrounded by them endlessly. On one particularly long flight, like a 6.5-hour leg. If you're a D&D person, you'll understand what I mean. I rolled a 20 on my seating arrangement. I had me in the window seat, empty middle seat, which was perfect for playing with baby. And then on the aisle, I had the most Midwest Iowa grandma you can ever pray for when you're traveling solo with a baby on an airplane. It was wonderful. Everyone was very supportive. Miracles do really happen in air travel sometimes. Like, I know it's usually crap, but I was very blessed in my travels with baby. Amen and hallelujah. Then I got home, and in a plot twist, I was promptly given a little bit of the plague, courtesy of my husband, who was home the whole time and didn't travel 8,000 miles. And somehow still caught the plague. This topical mug is courtesy of my friend Kristen, who brought this to me when I was incapacitated and horizontal. Third update is kind of channel related. A couple of videos back, I made a second video in my Summoning a Booktuber series where I lay out a multitude of items to represent aspects of a booktuber's life who I greatly admire, and then I perform some witchy bullshit and I summon some of their favorite books, and then I read those books and I tell you how I feel. For me, it's a fun way to pass a Tuesday. In my last video, I summoned the booktuber Allison Pages, who is probably one of my biggest heroes on the internet. She just appears to be, in every sense, a lovely human being. I make these videos because I am a tiny speck in the internet.com. My heroes of Booktube will never see these videos, so it enables me to be like a big boob and a dweeb with little self-consciousness as I just make these videos for funskies. So guys, she saw the video. I can't. Not only did she see it, she watched the whole thing. And the way I know that she watched the whole thing is that she wrote me what I can only describe is like the nicest novel of a comment where she commented on things throughout the entire video. Guys, she saw the video! So I screamed. Obviously, I told my mother. I shouted at Jay over text message from an entire continent away. I freaked out. If this is where I peak, one of my booktube heroes not only bothered to notice me, but bothered to be kind to me and write me a nice comment. That's good with me. I'm fine if this is as good as it gets. It's easy to be a cynical nugget when you're an adult in this damn world, but man, humans can be so lovely sometimes, and they can be so kind. So the biggest thank you to Allison Pages for watching my dumb little channel. I'm deceased. I did think perhaps I am a witch. I did summon her, although perhaps it is the tofu press. Does this mean my tofu press is a familiar? Like if it has this kind of power and energy? So please, please, please go watch Allison Pages' channel and you can watch this lovely human in the wild. They say don't meet your heroes, but this was pretty sweet. All right. On to book news. I'm gonna do my September wrap up next week just because I read a lot of books and they were from the September Shorty TBR. So I want to kind of take the time to do them justice and do a little bit of scripting. So today we're just gonna talk about the books I plan on reading for October. If you're new to Booktube, Victober is something that happens on Booktube in October. To participate, you can read a book from Victorian literature. Last year, I read A Tale of Two Cities, which just about killed me. Yes, it did. The reality is I do like Dickens, but I just need cliff notes to get through Dickens. So I thought for this October, I'd pick a book from my actual TBR shelf, which specifically is this weapon right here. This thing could kill a man. Like, you could really damage with this. I decided to read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And I have now learned that there are 3 Bronte sisters. Was not aware in the slightest. When I purchased this book, I learned there were 2 Bronte sisters, but I didn't know shit about Anne. This kind of tracks because last October I thought A Tale of Two Cities was about rich and poor London. I thought it was a metaphor for wealth inequality, and it turns out no. It's about London and Paris. It's a tale of 2 cities, like it says in the ducking title. So I'm just continuing this streak of ignorance, which is that I did not know that Bronte was 3 separate ladies. I actually started reading it while I was having the plague because I was miserable, ill, and it was raining continuously. Gloomy ass vibes, and I went, you know, there's a book that probably fits this. And I was not wrong. Jane Eyre is this gothic story about a young woman named Jane as she grows up as an orphan girl at her aunt's house who despises her. Her cousins are atrocious. She's then moved to boarding school for orphans, and now she has entered her new life as a governess in a sort of creepy house full of secrets and erratic behavior from the main dude who owns the house. My decision to grab this for the mood that I was experiencing, immaculate. Those were the vibes. If you're sick and it's raining and it's gloomy and dark out, read Jane Eyre because she's right there with you. I will say I'm really enjoying it so far. The language is a lot more accessible than I thought it would be. Easily more readable than Dickens. And I would also say probably more readable than Jane Austen, honestly. Next, I wanted like 2 books kind of for the spooky season. I was trying to do something low-key seasonal. I decided to pick a thriller writer who I've never read, who's very popular. I decided to read something by Riley Sager. Because the people who love Riley Sager really, really love Riley Sager. I am a Ruth Ware fan, so I understand. Any hot garbage she writes, I am like, here for it. I picked Survive the Night by Riley Sager just on a whim because the premise sounded kind of interesting. It's set in the 1990s. It follows a college girl whose roommate and best friend is murdered by a serial killer who stalks college campuses called the Campus Killer, as you do. And she's trying to escape this college and go back home to her grandmother in Ohio. So she accepts a ride from a stranger. And as the hours tick by on this ill-fated road trip, she starts to believe that she has gotten in the car with the killer himself. And now she must survive the night. Roll credits. I will say with like books like this with uber popular writers, people who just love these authors have a very favorite book. So if you like Riley Sager, will you tell me what your favorite Riley Sager is? I really genuinely want to know. I'm gonna make a list. We're gonna spreadsheet this. This feels like something spreadsheetable. In other spooky books, I decided to give an author I formerly axed another try, and that is Grady Hendrix. I have read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires because the premise sounded really interesting. It's about a bunch of middle-aged ladies in the South, also I think in the 1990s, who start suspecting one of the strangers who rolled into town to be a vampire and to be doing various misdeeds with the local younglings. I hated that book, and it firmly established to me that I am not a lover of horror, particularly body horror. I just really was so grossed out and irritated by that book, and I didn't find it like funny or entertaining at all. But people really love Grady Hendrix, so I decided I would take a recommendation that I think I actually got like well over a year ago by the impeccable C.S. Kevy, who recommended Horrorstor. So Horrorstor is essentially a haunted house story, except it's set in a big box Scandinavian furniture store in Ohio. There's a lot happening in Ohio right now. It's a haunted house story set in IKEA. And I gotta tell you, I love IKEA. There's something about the birchwood and the Norseman that just does it for me, okay? I used to go to IKEA all the time, just for the vibes, just to walk around. I'd go there on dates to have lunch with my husband. I'm telling you, I really, really like IKEA. And I can't explain to you how much the plot of this book appeals to me. So if I don't enjoy this, then I can't enjoy Grady Hendrix. Then he is officially axed as an author and he and I are not compatible. But I want to try it and see because a haunted house story in IKEA sounds hysterical. The plus side of this is even if I hate it, it's probably going to make me want to go to IKEA. Therefore, it will still be a victory. I do need more meatballs and probably like AA batteries, so I'm definitely going. These are like my seasonal TBR books, but I gotta tell you, I'm a mood reader, okay? And these last few months I have stuck like so excruciatingly well to a structural TBR. I read pretty much everything from my beach reads for the summer. I read everything from my September shorties list, which you'll hear about next week. And I need to not read things that I'm planning on reading because it's hurting my soul just a bit. I need to just grab some shit from the library because the cover looked interesting. Pull whatever from my TBR shelf, not stick to any kind of seasonal or themed genre just a bit, or I'm gonna go insane. So I'm just gonna tell you some of the books that are on my library holds list that I may or may not read, and things from my TBR shelf that kind of sound interesting right now. I'm calling them Moody Maybes. I have Tress by Sanderson checked out because I'm kind of in the mood for fantasy. I recently watched the D&D movie and it was just a joyful romp, and I'm in the mood for magic and fantasy and druids and sorcerers and dragons, and that's what I want right now. That's what I'm really craving. So I picked up Tress by Sanderson. I know nothing about it, just the title, and I know it's written by Sanderson, so I'll probably enjoy it. I picked up A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. On the many hours I spent just trawling Booktube as I was laying horizontal feeling sick and miserable, I watched just a ton of wrap-ups, and there was a particular book that the synopsis really appealed to me, and I thought it was this book. So I checked it out and I started reading it. And as I was reading it, I realized this was not the book that had the synopsis that I wanted. That was actually Legendborn. That was the one I was thinking I wanted to read, but I don't care because this book so far is incredible. It's a story about magical library books, kick-ass sword-wielding librarians, cute frickin' sorcerers who are straight out of Howl's Moving Castle, and demons who make tea. It's funny. It's whimsical, it's adventurous, I'm in love. It's taking a lot of self-control to film this video right now instead of just reading the book with my few minutes of leisure time. I can't wait to finish it. The things that maybe appeal to me on my TBR shelf right now are Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel and Piranesi by Susanna Clark. So maybe I'll get to one of these this month, or both, I don't know, or maybe nothing, or maybe I'll just read Seth Rogen's memoir instead. I can't be contained by your seasonal TBR. So anyway, I think we're gonna end here. This feels manic enough to put on the internet. September wrap up coming next video, and that's kind of it. Oh, I do have a question for you. I have a bunch of really great B-roll in the many hours of backseat car driving that I had in Alaska, and I'm kind of wondering what to do with it. I could make like a nice travel Alaska relaxing video. I could just use it in one of my wrap-ups, or as was a suggestion from Jay, I could read an Alaska themed book and then use my B-roll in the backdrop for that video. I'm kind of tempted to do that one. I'm curious to see what y'all are interested in. I don't want to make decisions anymore. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking my videos and subscribing to my channel. And thank you as always for being kind in the comment section. So I will see you all next video. If everything goes well, there will be another video next week. No more plague. It's not topical anymore. Bye.